Hi guys and welcome to my channel. It's been a while. Today I'm going to do my January wrap-up. It's been a while since I actually did a proper monthly wrap-up, but since it's a new year I decided to try and get things back on track. I've read 8 books this month, which is quite great. So first I read 3 on my Kindle, and the first one was Unfiltered, No Shame, No Regrets, Just Me by Lily Collins, which is a sort of memoir that she wrote and published in 2017. There are different chapters where she talks about different subjects that were important to her, such as mental health and food and stuff like that. I talk about it a little bit more on my blog. If you would like to read it, I will put the link in the description of this video. This book was really great. It was full of wise, beautiful words, and I think I will reread it because it was quite inspiring, and overall I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Second book I read was also an autobiography. It's by Carrie Fisher and you probably heard of it. It's called Wishful Drinking, and she talks about her addiction to alcohol and her bipolarity and the electroshocks she got. And of course she talks about Star Wars, about her family and much more. It was really great, quite short to read. I read it really quick. I talked about it with one of my friends who said it was basically the same text as the show she did, which was also called Wishful Drinking. It's absolutely fantastic, and if you like Carrie Fisher, I would definitely recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I will try to talk about it on my blog as well. The third book I read on my Kindle was an ARC I received from NetGalley. It's by Curtis Sittenfeld and it will be released in April. It's a collection of short stories called You Think It, I'll Say It, and it's kind of slice of life sort of thing of realistic fiction. It was really great. I dived into it not really knowing what to expect, and I was really glad because the characters were, for most of them, extremely relatable, and the stories were like really realistic, and I really liked that aspect of the book. I will write a review on my blog as soon as I have the time, and in the meantime I definitely recommend you keep this book on your radar. So now I read some paperback books and one comic book, which is Wonder Woman Iron, the third book in the Wonder Woman series by Brian Azzarello. I'm trying to get through this series and I really like it because it has a great part of mythology in it and it's so fantastic. The story is full of twists and new deities appearing every new chapter almost, and I would definitely recommend it if you like comic books, heroes, and of course if you like Wonder Woman. The next book, actually all of the next books I've read are in French, which is something that hasn't happened in quite some time because I didn't really read a lot of books in French last year, and I'm trying to change this because it's important for me to read in my mother tongue, and I also have quite a lot of books I want to get around for my thesis. So anyway, the first one I have here is Simone de Beauvoir's memoir. This takes place from her childhood to the times she met Sartre and got her diploma as a philosophy professor. I have to say it was okay. It was mostly well written, but I was not a huge fan of it because most of the time she seems to be really full of herself, and I'm more into autobiographies with narrator and I can relate to, and this was definitely not the case here. Nevertheless, I'm still glad I read it because it's a classic and I'm always trying to read more classics, so I'm glad I read it. Probably not gonna read the next one because she has, I believe, 4 of them. I would try to read The Second Sex because it's also super important, but enough of her private life. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars and I would not recommend this book. I'm sorry, but no. The next book I read is by one of the author I'm studying for my thesis. She's called Annie Ernaux. I got to meet her last year. She's absolutely fantastic. This is called The True Place, and it's actually an interview she had with a fellow journalist. It's very inspiring and very beautiful. It's probably not been translated, but if you are a writer or journalist or artist, I think this can be very inspiring and I absolutely loved it. It's the first book I read this year and it got 5 of 5 stars, so this year was off to a great reading start. And the last, no, I still have to actually. So the next one I have is called 30 Years and 10 Years in Therapy by Noura Hamzavi. I believe it's been published in January of this year, so it's quite a new book. I hadn't heard of the author before, but I now know that she has made podcasts, she's a humorist, and she deals with mental problems since she's seeing a therapist, which is something I saw as soon as I saw the title, which is why I picked up the book, because it's always interesting for me to read this kind of relatable characters. The book was quite funny. It was actually nothing much, and the thing is that the author is like 30 or something. I'm more in my 20s, so most of the part of the books were not exactly relatable for me, but it was still great and enjoyable, and I would recommend it if you can read French, because it's a quick and easy read. It also has some fun illustrations, so overall, it was a nice read, and I give it 3 or 4 stars or something. I mean, it is great. It was just nothing spectacular. And the last one I have is actually a theoretical book about autobiographies. Yes, this is gonna be a recurrent topic in my wraps-ups, I believe, because I'm trying to read as much of those as I can. Actually, this book was recommended by one of my professors 2 or 3 years ago, and I decided not to read it because we talked about it a lot in class. But the thing is, we didn't talk about like that much of the book. We talked about maybe this part, and it was so interesting. I really liked it, and I'm so glad I finally read it because it's going to be so useful. So yeah, that's something. I mean, I'm not going to recommend you this book because it's theoretical writing, but I'm still glad I read it and enjoyed it. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel, and I guess I'll see you around. Bye!